Unfiltered. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Josh. And today we have a very, very, very special guest. I love him. You might know him. Alan. What's going on, Al?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that you're our first guest, so I think it's very fitting. I'm very excited for
Exciting.
this.
Yay.
Uh, Also, in case you didn't watch the last episode, Josh is our sound machine.
We're working on sound effects. It's on the agenda. Don't worry. We're going to get there.
Uh,
I need 2% more on that last deal. Maybe we get some sound effects.
uh,
Oh, damn. All right. So today I think we're gonna talk about, what it's like to be a broker. The highs, the lows, behind the scenes. Yeah, see how it
Some
goes.
juicy stories from the old G. Yeah. So Al, first off, how long have you been a real estate agent?
I have been doing this for 16 years, so
Ooh.
I've seen it all.
And you're still doing it, so
Hey,
I'm still
must be
doing it.
must be something you like.
not that many gray hairs. That's not bad. Look, I started real estate and all my hair fell out.
Well, I mean,
So,
so, I mean, I still have some hair, right? Like you lose it. But I'm going to say, like, one of the things that I think, if somebody has been doing this for a long time, they are somebody I would consider, they're good at what they're doing. This is not an easy career. It is not at all an easy career. And if you have actually been able to make it a career more than, a year or two, you're doing something right. And so, and that does not mean if somebody, somebody could have started yesterday and they can be fantastic, right? But if somebody's been around for a long time, they know what they're doing, and that should actually be a sign to any potential client that, well, this person's been able to make it. There are tens of thousands of people who take the real estate course and get licensed by the state of New York and are done in a couple months. I mean, I know people who've, spent a lot of time and they literally do not make it 6 months. They don't make it 6 months. And
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
so
ask, like, in all the years that you've been doing this, like, how many people? It would probably be a better question to ask how many people have stayed the course versus how many have left, because I'm sure the number that stayed is much smaller.
yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you that, but it is the number who have stayed the course is small
well,
in the greater
if
scheme of
you
things.
like, it's a small sample size, but if you look at where I started, where I met, Alan, at Best Apartments, like I look at that, I think about that room and who was in that room when I first walked in. And now I think about who's still doing what we're doing. And it's not really many of us. Like, there's not a lot left. Everyone has kind of like taken different paths and gone like different ways. Some better than others, whatever. But it's very telling the fortitude, I guess, that we have, the thick skin, or that we're kind of masochists and like we just love this crazy shit.
Well, I think it's also skills, right? Like people forget, and Al, you can attest to this probably more than anybody, but people come into this and they forget that you're a licensed real estate salesperson. Like this is a sales job, right? So you need to have those skills. Like you've trained me, you've trained a whole bunch of agents, and how many people are lacking basic sales skills?
And that is the most important thing. I mean, honestly, sales is about listening, right? It is about listening. People say, I could try to push you onto something. Oh, this is the best apartment for you. It's not about that. It's about listening and hearing what the client wants and then saying, oh, here's the one for you. That's really the important thing. And if you don't pay attention to what your client needs, you're not going to go anywhere. But the longevity of an agent or a broker is actually, you've learned what the inventory is. You know what the inventory is, and you have relationships with the landlords and the management companies. And those two things are the most important thing that an agent with longevity can deliver for their clients in several ways. Like, I remember one of the first things this is the knowing your inventory anecdote. Like I'd taken this couple out all over the Upper West Side. They were looking for, a 2-bedroom apartment with space. They had all the criteria that I knew. And I showed them this one place that did not work for them. But as we were leaving the building, she commented on the tiles in the lobby. And she was like, "Oh my God, these tiles, they're so beautiful. Da, da, da. This is really what," and I went,
Such a random thing.
I mean, a random thing, but I was like, "Oh, you like," I said, "You know what? I know there's a building 2 blocks away that has similar thing." And like, that's what triggered knowing this apartment. And I was like, "Listen, this apartment is not the apartment necessarily we talked about, but it checks a lot of the boxes you talked about. And it also has these same tiles in the lobby. So do you want to just take an extra 10 minutes and walk over and check this out?" Well, they applied for that. Like literally they walked in and they're like, "Let's go back to the office and apply." Back in the day when like you had to go to the office to apply. Technology is our
Oh, I
friend now.
miss those. I miss those
But
days.
they loved it. And it was simply because they made a comment. And by knowing the inventory, I'm able to be like, "Oh, wait a minute, we've got something that you should be looking at." Um, but it's about hearing what they say. And the corollary to that is clients, the better clients open their mouth and say stuff, right? I think a lot of clients, and you guys have heard that, like you go in, and I've asked you, sometimes you've shown apartments and I'm like, "What are they saying?" Like, well, they didn't say anything. They're playing their cards very close to their chest. And I'm not sure why a potential renter is not being forthcoming with the person who is actually trying to help them, and who
Hmm.
by the way, you are eventually paying in some way, shape, or form, whether the fee is coming from the landlord or from the renter. We're being paid to help you. So tell us what you think. If you don't give us feedback, we don't know how to help you next. And it
We
can be
can't
some,
say, "Hey, those tiles are in another building,"
yeah.
if
Right.
you don't
If we
speak
don't,
up a bit.
I mean, this happened to me just the other day, showing some clients and they're like, okay. And I'm like, okay, don't be afraid to offend me. I'm not going to get offended. This is not my apartment. I don't care if you hate it, but I need to know why you hate it so that I can help you. Um, you need to tell me everything, right? What you love, what you like, what you absolutely can't stand, so that I can make sure, right, that I don't show you again something that you can't stand.
Yeah, because
But
at the
so
end of the
people are
day,
just afraid to like, oh my God, I don't know, like, oh, this feels so weird to tell you. And it's like,
No, listen,
bro,
like trust me, we don't own the buildings. We're not going to be upset if you're like, like if you don't like something, tell us. Now, I mean, you
yeah.
guys know I've used the example. It's the blue ceiling.
Hmm.
I I,
I
I
love
always say,
this example.
what are your blue ceiling issues? And I explained to people because I was like, "Listen, I'm going to give you an analogy, and this will make sense. If you are not going to rent this apartment because it has a blue ceiling, you have to tell me, because otherwise I'm going to keep showing you apartments with the blue ceiling."
yeah,
And sometimes I get a person going like, "I don't understand. Their ceilings are blue." I'm like, "No, no. Like, I don't know what
It's
your
not
issue might
literal.
be. Everybody's different. If you tell me you want a nice apartment, I want a nice kitchen. I don't know what that means to you.
Mhm.
So you need to open up." And so, like, if there's something I used to say, like, "Well, I mean, if you don't like exposed brick, you got to let me know." And like, "Oh, I love exposed brick." I'm like, then you're not getting it. And the minute I started using the blue ceiling analogy, people would get it and like, "Okay, you know what? You're right. Um, I don't want to walk up I love the apartment, but I'm not going to walk up 4 flights of stairs." Great. All right. Now I know I have to find you this apartment on a lower floor or with an elevator. See, I can help you. I can move the process along. How do
Mhm.
we move forward? I mean, yesterday I was showing people some apartments and it's like, well, what's the issue? Well, I want bigger. Well, I'm like, well, welcome to New York City, right? You're not going to get bigger unless we add another room. Like the room sizes aren't necessarily going to get bigger. I mean, maybe if you add a lot more money and we go to a completely different building, but unless the other conversation that happens if you're forthright with a competent broker is, because we know the inventory, we can actually tell you your needs. Like, "Hey, okay, you have this much money to spend. In order to get more space, we need to go to a 3-bedroom, which is going to be this much more money." But let's be frank, you're not going to get what you say you want at this thing unless we move to a different
20,
neighborhood. You
30
know,
blocks.
Mhm.
we something needs to change. And at the end of the day, like this is now the at the end of the day, I'm only going to pay it if you rent something. So I need, if what you wanted was available, why would I not take you to it as quickly as possible?
Because
Like,
we are the trolls that want to hold on to all the good apartments and no one gets anything.
I mean, I'm
I
talking to somebody right now, like just before I hopped
okay.
onto this call, there was somebody. It's like, well, wait a minute, like, why aren't you showing me more things? And I'm like, because that's all there's out there. And that's another thing that I think renters don't understand. Uh, Any one of us or any broker ever watching this is going to be like, I'm taking you to these four places because they are the only four places that somewhat meet your criteria, whether it's location, budget, size, whatever your blue ceiling issues are. These are the only things that I can take you to because they're the only ones that are actually on the market. Well, wait a minute. No, I'm going to go online and I'm going to look and I see dozens and dozens of other options. Well, yeah, but they're not available right now. Well, why not? And the honest
But
answer
online
is,
they are.
yeah, but online they are. I'm like, great, we'll call them and like literally call, like right here, call that other broker and see what they say. Oh yeah, that's not available, right? Because the, I mean, the biggest problem is all these platforms were not made for the speed of Manhattan real estate, right? Like
Definitely not.
somebody out in Kansas has created a platform that's fantastic, but we who are advertising on it have to buy something for a time period, right? So the minute we advertise, it's like, well, this is going to be up there for a week or 2 or 6 weeks. Once it's on, right? So then somebody calls and it's like, well, that was rented 5 weeks ago. I can't take the ad down. So people don't, I don't know if they don't trust us, they don't believe us. I don't know what the answer is, but they, they want to believe there's something out there. And now we're going into the summer, right? Rents are going up, but they go online and see that, wait a minute, this ad from 5 weeks ago said it was only this price. Every broker is advertising the lowest price, right? We
The
want the
best
phone call.
deal.
Yeah,
You
Hmm.
we
need the
want the
you
phone
need
call. I
to
mean, let's be really
yeah.
honest, right? Y'all want the phone call. That's why you go online in New York and you see every apartment has laundry. Well, yeah, because we know you want it. So we're only going to advertise the things you want: a low price, something really special about the apartment, laundry, backyard, really bright and sunny. Now everyone uses, chat GBT to stage an apartment to make it look nice. I took somebody to show an apartment. They're like, that's not the way that's not what it looked like in the thing. Of course, because somebody made it brighter, had the floors redone. Like, come on. I mean, technology is your friend and your enemy,
they
but
moved it up 10 they moved it up 10 floors so you get better lighting.
But yeah, exactly.
Oh
Should give
shit.
me a view out the window and like look at the Empire State Building and not a
Yeah,
brick
you can
wall.
add that. You can be like, okay, add a view in the window.
At a view in
That's
a
crazy.
window. And it's like, it's beautiful. I see all these things like, oh, look at the lovely furniture. Look at it. It's a king size bed. I'm like, in what New York apartment? Like,
I
there's
was
a
in
realism.
I was in a building not too long ago. I'm showing up on 172nd Street. Now, Al, we're up there all the time. I know what these apartments look like. I know what landlord puts what fixtures. Like, this is my job. This is what we do. And I'm showing this client's like, well, can I see this other apartment that's in this building? I'm like, there are no more units in the building. Like, this is what I'm showing you is what's available. She's like, well, online, like, look at this apartment. I'm like, okay, let me see this ad. And I look, and the living room has like exposed brick. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Well, but this landlord never has exposed brick in this building. There's not one apartment I've seen in 5 years of working in this building that has exposed brick. So I'm like, yeah, that doesn't exist. She's like, well, this other broker says, and I'm like you said, call and or what do the kids say right nowadays? Fuck around and find out.
Mm.
Fuck around and find out, and you might end up with an apartment that you hate for 12 months.
But yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's terrible.
the advice that I have for potential renters is when you're looking online, because trust me, like no matter what we say, no matter what it says, you're going to go online. You are. But if you approach it with the attitude of, I want an apartment like this,
Yeah.
and you make the phone call and saying, I saw this apartment, I really like it. Do you have anything similar? And guess what? You might actually get, actually that's available. Can
I get
are you
lucky.
are you free later on today? Or again, no, it's not, but I have something just like it. And you should be told I have something just like it before you actually go to meet the person, right? And honestly, the caveat is It's always possible we make an appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning and we find out by, your appointment at 4 that it's gone. That's how fast things go. You have to be but
I
what
mean,
happens is
I
you keep looking for, oh, there's going to be something else out there. And when you finally understand that the 4 apartments your first agent showed you are the only 4 out there, the one you like the most has been rented by somebody else. And that's the other advice. It's like, no, when you see what you want, stop. You have to stop, especially as we're going into the busy summer months.
but you have this fear of missing out, right?
FOMO.
Renters have it. Um, and it's something that I wanted to talk about in another episode, but we might as well talk about it now. It's not like, I get it. I've been a renter, and you always want to like hope that there's something better out there. But like you said, Al, like by the time you realize that there isn't anything better, you've lost that apartment, right? So it's and then there's the question that I always get, I'm sure you guys get it too, is how long does it take to get an apartment? And my answer is always, that depends on you, right? Like it depends on how long it takes you to make a decision. And by the time you make that decision, that apartment or your top 3 might be gone. I mean, I've had, like you said, um, I've called a super at 10 in the morning. Hey, I'm gonna go show this apartment today. It's still available. Yep, it's still available. 2 hours later, I get there. It's locked. Hey, you told me the apartment was gonna be unlocked. Yeah, it's been rented. 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, landlords take the first application they get, right?
Well, the
they're
first qualified
Yeah,
application.
correct. Thank you for that. They take the first qualified application, but they don't wait around and say like, oh, wait a minute. Well, you make $1 million, but this person won Powerball. I'm going to give it to them. No, they want somebody in there ASAP. So once they get uh, an application that is qualified, they're approving it, right? And so if you're not prepared to apply when you go out looking, and do what I said, stop looking when you find the one that meets your criteria. A broker is never going to push you to say, you have to rent this apartment. The broker is going to be pushy when you say, I love this apartment and I want it. Now I'm going to push you because now time is of the essence.
Yep.
Hmm.
The stopwatch just hit.
That's
Let's
that's
go.
when we need to move. We can look until the cows come home until you find the right apartment. But once you find it, now my job is to get it for you. And if you're not ready to apply the mindset to apply while you're out looking, you're going to wind up with, as Josh said, the not a great apartment
For a full year.
for a full
For a
year.
full year.
Wow.
And then next year it's going to be more expensive.
Yep, because it's never getting cheaper, guys. Never.
No, I tell that to people. Someone texted me the other day. It was like, well, the economy is like not doing really well right now, and like, we're in for like a crash. I'm like, yeah, that might happen. Sure, it's happened before. So are the rents gonna go down? I'm like, sorry, buddy. It's gonna take months before landlords will decide, "Oh, yeah, let's start lowering these rents." I tell people all the time that the only time landlords lower rents or they give you anything is when major economical concerns happen. So it's like, yeah, that crash that happened in, what was it, 07, 08? Apartments were flying off because everything was super cheap, everything was no fee, like it was great. It was great times, right? Then we went into the stage of, well, now it's just 50% every single deal that we do. And I love those times. Like I miss those times. Um, and then the internet like started speeding up. We get Street Easy, we get Zillow, we get all these different things. People are not going to come into the office again. So like the market changes, but it never really dipped since 2007. It just kept
So
going up. And then COVID hit, so it dipped a bit. And then when COVID was kind of like clearing up, we're way past what we were in COVID.
I mean,
Like,
even the year after, right? So I would say like 2021, right? Everybody's like taking advantage of all these deals, right? And then 2022, I think, is when rent started going high again. So I always tell people, look, if you take away 2020 and part of 21 and you just go from 2019 to like the end of 21 and 22, it's just a like upward trajectory, right? It just went down temporarily, but basically if you got rid of that dip, right, it's just gone up like
The step.
as it should have, right?
So,
Um it just seemed like a giant jump because it had that temporary dip. And those people um that bought the dip, right, had to move after a year because now their rents went up like $1,000. And they're like, well, how can they do that? Well, because you got a discount when there isn't really a discount. It's
That's the
just they
thing.
needed to make, the landlords needed to make some money. So they
And
rented it.
landlords actually manipulated the market because instead of a 12-month lease, which is the minimum required in New York State, they gave everyone an 18-month lease, a 15-month, whatever, to ensure that the apartment that historically was available in the slow winter months with the low rent would come on the market again at the end of your deal lease in the high summer market. So
Mhm.
then they were able to say to you, unless it was a rent regulated apartment, they were able to say, well, now we're going back to what it was in 2019. And you
Mhm.
went from paying, I mean, there was one landlord in the city that was offering people 18-month leases,
For
and you
6 months free.
signed a lease at high price, but they were giving you 12 free months. So you got 18 months, you got 12 free months. And so it was like, oh my God, I remember this. It was like you were getting a 3-bedroom apartment for $1,800 a month. And then at the end of your 18-month lease, it went up to $7,000. And it
Yeah.
was like, how am I going to afford it? Well, you have to move. You understood that you were getting a deal. Like,
But it
how did you
costs
not
more
understand?
money to move.
It costs more money to move. And so, this is what, yeah, I do know somebody who actually won the housing Powerball. Like they came down and signed on the heart of the West 70s. They signed a rent stabilized lease for a 2-bedroom, and they were paying pennies, and it was a preferential rent, right? The landlord was desperate to get somebody in there, but under the 2019 laws, the new rental laws, a preferential rent is the new rent. So they still have, 6 years later, or 5 years later, they have a 2-bedroom, at 75th and Columbus for nothing. And like
Wow.
they're the one people I know that it worked out, right?
There's always a
Everyone else had to
couple.
move.
Mhm.
Everyone else had to move.
But then because there's always like one or two, then everybody else thinks, oh, that could be me.
That could be
That's
me,
like
right?
that is the
Guess what?
actual trend. I was like,
A
no, that's
dollar
not
and
the
a dream.
trend.
A dollar and a dream. Listen here.
Those are outliers.
A
Take your
dollar, a dream, and a sucker.
take your $2, go to the local bodega, and get a Powerball win, and you have that kind of chance too, right?
Mhm.
It's just we at the end we want to help you, and I think that my over the years, like the frustration for me is, because you have the same conversations, but every time the phone rings, and it's I want to help you. So I need you to talk to me, right? And I need you to believe me when I say I will offer you as close as possible to what you're telling me you want. And if I say, this is it, like I say, have this conversation all the time. Uh, These are your choices. But I'm like, great. But you guys, I've taught you this. There's the pie. There are 3 slices of the
That's
I
pie.
my
love those pie.
favorite.
I love
This
the pie.
pie.
There's the pie. There's location,
There's only so
there's
much that fits in the
price,
pie.
and there's the apartment. The apartment is many subsets. All those things. How finished it is. How many, like all like the stuff in the apartment. But those are the 3 things, and the pie is only so big. So if you want more of one slice, you're going to lose some of the other slices. And the only way to get a different pie is to change one of those 3 variables. Like one of them has to change. And so when we hit a wall with a client and trying to offer, it's like unless there is that outlier, and Frank, there's always an exception to the rule, right? Like, but any broker is going to talk in the broadest possible sense. We're going to tell you all this stuff. And oh, wait a minute, like tomorrow a landlord could reach out with like, here's the deal. And I'm going to reach back out like, I found it for you. But today I'm going to tell you these are your options that meet the needs that you have stated as closely as possible.
Yeah. So I would like to segue now into the side that another side that renters don't see, right? What it is, all the work that we do, and thankless work because renters think that all we do is open doors. And how much work is done that we don't get paid for. Right? Because we are 100% commission based, and like you said, if if we don't rent an apartment, we don't get paid. But we do so much just to get there. Um, so what are some experiences that you guys have had where you have spent so much time and energy and not gotten a dollar from?
Oh, I got a good one from like not too long ago. This is maybe a couple months ago. We have a client. We're showing near Columbia 109 stuff. I know what they look like. Hey, this is what you want. Fine. Um, the client, she was feisty, and I like that. Like, I am all for the banter, the give and take. I like that. That shows me you're engaged. I could work with that. It's the ones like you said that, like, I'm gonna hold everything close to the chest, and it's hard to help. So as we're walking in, she's like, yeah, I don't know about this building, this is not it. I'm like, okay, I understand. Doesn't look aesthetically, it's not what you really want. um you need to, so then I'm like, hey, you need to go here. If you go here, this is still within time frame of your commute that you want, but you're going to get a better apartment. And when I say better apartment, it's the things near the schools are what I call dorm 2.0. They're made for students and student life, not for cultivating friendships and like to actually like living in the apartment. You're not gonna have dinner parties at the 109 apartments. I'm sorry. Um, so the young lady's like, "Oh, I don't want to go up there. That's too far." I'm like, "Well, it's only like a couple train stops. We'll get there in like 15 minutes." "Oh, I don't want to get on the train. I don't want to walk." Like, just like a baby. So, we got to make this deal. And I'm like, "All right, let's get in an Uber, go to this." And now, Alan, I there's a few things that when I decided to be like, want to open a company, I don't want to answer to like anyone. Like, that's not a part of my DNA. I'm not built to like, take orders or have someone question my like what I want to do. But I have that regardless, especially when it comes to spending any money. So if we spend any money, I'm gonna get a phone call. I'm gonna get a text message. Why are we spending money on this? You took a
That's
Uber
me.
on this.
I'm
Like
making
we
those phone calls.
like we can't do this. So in my head, I have this little Cuban person just telling me, like, hold on to your wallet. And I'm like, you know what? Against my better, judgment, I was like, screw this. I'll deal with Rachel later. We're gonna make this deal and I'm gonna be great. I get these kids into the Uber, we get to the building. What happens? The apartment's closed. I'm like, oh no. All right. I dragged you here. Now I'm starting to look bad because I dragged these people here and this apartment's closed. So I'm like, you know what? We're gonna deep dive into all the ways I could get into apartments. Thank you, Alan, for like teaching me very well how to like navigate these things. I find the super is awesome, opens doors for me. I look like a superhero. Apartment is like, it's one of those apartments when you walk in and you go, oh damn, I was not expecting this to look like this. The people love it. Oh, Josh, you're the best. Thank you for like forcing me to come up here. Yes, we're gonna like apply. We're gonna apply. We're gonna apply. I swear to you, I think Alan is still texting, where do we stand with your rental needs? And this is months later. So yes, there are plenty of times where, you come out of pocket, you spend money, you do, and that's just travel. Travel's like on the low end. Now that's when we start talking about like street easy and advertising, that's where it starts getting like extremely expensive. When we start talking about making copies of keys and all these other things, these expenses just start, piling up. And if it takes me more than a week to make a deal, like, now we're just losing money. Now it's just
Yeah.
it's not cost efficient, as
Well,
Rachel would tell me.
it's about time management, right? You say, I'm going to meet you at 3 o'clock. Great. So I'm going to set you up a tour from 3 to 4, and it's going to be seamless, right? I'm going to show you, we're going to meet here, and we're just going to go in a straight line and see 4 apartments. And the work that goes into scheduling those so that you get a seamless experience, that work, I mean, it takes a lot because you have to schedule. And then somebody says the super's not available, then and you have to manipulate all that. It takes twice as long to do that as it actually takes to to take you around to those apartments. But then the research that goes in to find those 4 apartments, that meet your needs and everything. Like once you make that phone call and I say, you know what, thanks, the conversation we have, and also make yourself available for a conversation. You're like, well, I'm just going to meet you at this one apartment. Well, it would be great for me to know exactly, I'm showing you the apartment you called on, but I don't know how much it meets your needs. You said you wanted to see this. But if we have a conversation and I know more about your needs in advance, I'll actually have other options to tell you about and maybe have access to them. But if we wait until we actually meet, I haven't made the access yet. And that takes time. So now we have to meet in a day or two, and they will probably be gone again. Like, everyone has to help us help you. But
Hmm.
the time and effort that, again, it's unpaid stuff. So we know it's commission. And by the way, we all know it's commission. I'm taking you out. You might not rent from me. We know that. So I mean that's built in. Like that's built in, but there's so much time. And then even so, oh, I want to apply for this apartment. I mean, I have people that say, well, send me the application. Well, the work that has to go into it's not just like, oh, here it is. It's like there's work that goes into the application to send it to you. Don't ask me to do that unless you're actually wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
think also like it's not it's with the research part and knowing, what the client is looking for. It's also what the client is going to be qualified for because, that's something that we always try to ask. I know because, Al, you've taught us this. Like in the first conversation that you have with them, find out how they're going to qualify, right? Is it on their own income? Is it with a guarantor or a third party guarantor? And we need to know that not because um we just want to know. We're not just curious. It's we need to know because there there are landlords that will not accept guarantors, and there are some that won't accept third party guarantors, and then there are some that will accept only in-state guarantors. And like those are things that we need to know so that we don't waste your time as well as our time, right? We
and
don't want to.
and like there are examples of that. Like I've seen it time and time again where like, okay, somebody has applied for a different apartment. Like I've taken them out and where are you staying with your rental needs? And listen, take the 3 seconds to be like, I've rented something. Like, so then I'll stop bothering you, right? But every day new things hit my desk. And if I think, oh my God, this is going to meet your needs, I'm reaching out to you. If you've done something else, just let me know. But what they've done is they've gone and applied for an apartment that I didn't show them because they don't qualify, right?
Mm,
And so they don't qualify. And the person they're working with didn't ask those questions, or maybe hasn't learned that they have to ask those
or
questions,
doesn't care to
or
ask those
doesn't
questions.
care, like, and so they go and apply for apartment X, and then 2 days later find out they don't get it. And now they come back being like, well, okay, their second choice, which they actually qualify for, is the top choice that I showed them, but it's gone, right? And if only they were more upfront with me, or the broker they chose to work with knew what they were doing, they would have avoided that. So, as Josh said, now they wind up with their third choice apartment because they have
For
to
12
have a
months.
roof over their heads by the end of the week. And having upfront conversations with a competent broker is going to get
Keywords.
you the apartment you want.
Keywords
Nah,
competent.
competent
Competent.
is, yeah. The smart ones could recognize it. The dumb ones fuck around and find out.
Like, and listen,
I mean, also, like, what if you're dealing with, another broker, like you're dealing with a co-broke or, something like that, and they are not competent. It makes the deal so much harder, and you have to pull it through, right? That's more work that we have to do because on the other end, they're retarded. Um, and you're trying to get your client the apartment that they want, but you have to deal with so much crap on the other end.
Yeah. Competence is the key in New York City real estate. Quickness, move at a timely fashion, and things are a lot better off for yourself and for the agent that you're working with. Now let's what are the what are the hardships that you faced? Like, how do you get through it? Because you know what, this is like we said, it's a roller coaster. So you have to figure out a way to ride this roller coaster so you're not either going absolutely crazy or completely drunk half the time. Now,
That's me.
if it's being completely drunk half the time, okay, acceptable.
Let's party.
You have to have a sense of humor, right?
Mhm.
You have to approach this with a sense of humor because uh, there are more disappointments. I think they're more disappoint like, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, the people who just disappear, and so there certainly is self-medicating, but and then you work with people in your office on your team, and you bitch and moan, right? You're going to be like, you complain, but everything's a lesson at the end of the day, right? You learn, and that's what I said. Anyone starting out, you learn two things. You learn what I don't want to say mistakes, but you learn the things you can do better. These are things that I can do better, but you also accept that the things that are happening they just happen. Like and at some point that they the things that I've just been bitching about for the last couple, like they're going to happen with every new person,
Yeah.
potentially. So then you get to a point where it's like, well, it's just there. I mean, there's when I was starting out, I had a great high end client on the Upper East Side, and I was taking them out, and most of these were co-broke, so I had to meet with other agents, and there was just this one that stuck out in my mind, and she literally was of the "I'm just here to open the door" mentality. Also, because that's what you do, right? The person who opens was like, "This is the closet, and this is the this," and that, like, no, I'm opening the door and letting you see whether you like the apartment. That's actually a good agent, right? The good agent is like, here's the apartment. What do you think? But in this case, she doesn't need to ask what they think because they're my client. She's literally there to open the door. That's a good thing. But she literally was like, yeah, whatever. Like nothing was going to phase her. This woman was just like nothing. And I realized that the longer I've been in this industry, it's true. Nothing phases me anymore, even though I'm going to laugh. I mean, we all have stories. I mean, like there was one time, like Josh, you'll remember this like 10 years ago, where somebody texted us. It was like, well, we need the money. Like the landlord says, we need the money. Like, where's the money? And she's like, oh shoot, I just drove up to the bank and the door is locked. And I'm thinking, first off, we're in Manhattan. You just drove up to the bank, like, and like, oh, like I'm just
The
imagining
door's
her
locked.
like pulling
Oh
up on a
no.
street corner, hopping in her car, and like banging on the door of the bank. Like the door's like, what? I don't know, like, but like, this is the story you're telling me? What's the real answer? You have to laugh. We used to keep a list of, things my broker says. Like, you just hear some of the craziest comments, and why not keep a list of them? But it's the sense of humor and maybe a really nice dry martini.
I'm for that.
And I'm always grateful. Here's the thing. I'm really grateful for this. Sometimes you take somebody out and out and out and out, and you really work with them, and it just so happens they find another apartment and
Yeah.
you don't rent them. And the ones that actually pick up the phone and say, I rented something else. Thank you so much for your time. Many, many times I've had somebody say, can I send you something? And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. And they do anyway. And that's great. But
That's nice.
somebody once sent me a very, very nice bottle of a Napa cab. And I was like, I really appreciated that. In fact, I think I actually appreciated that more than the broker fee. It was like, wow, you were being considerate of the time and effort. And then in the course of the conversations that I had while we're out and about, because you can only talk about the apartment so much, you're like, hey, what are you into? And they knew that I liked, earthy reds. And they
And
sent
they
me a
saved you a trip to the liquor store.
and
Even
well, and also
better.
paid for it. Like, I'm not I'm not
Listen.
buying a $95 bottle of wine. I'm not. But they bought it for me, and I was very grateful. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I like when you try to help somebody again, they happen to rent another apartment without you, which is totally fine, but then they send you their referrals instead of the broker that they actually rented with.
That
And
just
that
happened to us.
It did.
That
Yeah,
just
it
yeah.
happened like
literally just happened.
yesterday.
That's
Oh.
yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, one of the clients that I showed the other day, Al, was like, "Well, if you have anything, great, but either way, give me your card because I'm totally gonna refer people to you no matter what. Like, you've been the best person that we've worked with, and we only just met you." And I was like, "That's cool. Like, I would love that." And that just goes to show, like, we're not just competent brokers; we're actually good people. Like we do care about the renters somewhat, right? No, no, we do. Like, we're here obviously to make money, but we're here to help people, right? They can go through such a shitty experience, and I'm sure you guys have heard nightmare stories about what other renters are telling you about other brokers, and also your experience with other brokers, right? Like, we don't have to make it that bad. So I think people, they also kind of recognize that. And that also feels good, like, hey, I might not have gotten a deal out of it, but I might get three in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, and that people do refer us, and I always say, listen, thank you for your business. Most of our work is referrals. So
Mhm.
if you send somebody my way, I'm going to give you a referral fee. Thank you. And the fact that that happens over and over again is actually a testament to the care that you just said, Rachel, the care that we do for our clients. I mean, been called many times. I'm like, listen, thank you so much for this afternoon. I just saw an apartment with another broker, and I actually really like the apartment. Can you get it for us? And we're not allowed to do that, right? Like, we're actually stealing. If we did that, we'd be stealing a client and actually stealing from the other broker, right? And then it actually, when we advise the client is, listen, if you want to do that, great, but understand this: that other broker is actually due a fee, like, because they found they're the procuring cause of finding that. Now this is up to you. You need to know your rights and your obligations. But it's wrong to do that. But guess what? We all don't have access to everything. Any one broker, again, generalization, has access to 75 to 80% of the market. Everybody has a pocket landlord that they have. Everybody has a semi co-exclusive that they could show you. But when you make one phone call, you're actually have access to 75 to 80% of the market. There will be times where you find the thing that you're looking for that is an outlier. The other thing that happens, on a roll, the other thing that happens is you change your parameters. When you are so very clear and pick any one of those three things: the location, the price, the apartment. When you change your parameters and you don't tell the person that's working with you, like, it was like, I could have shown you that apartment, but you were adamant that you would not go above 60th Street, or you were adamant that you would not go above $6,000. You were, and then I find, well, I always ask, well, when somebody says a rent, I'm like, well, what did you rent? And when they tell you, you're like, well, I mean, I don't say it to them, but I'm like, well, of course you rented that, because you changed what you were looking for and you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me.
After they sit and listen to the things that we have to say and they fight, that I think a lot of it stems from that they are embarrassed to come
Right.
back and
Right.
say, "Oh, I didn't know you were right." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, obviously I'm right. This is my job. I'm
But
supposed to
we're
be
not,
right."
but even though we're right, we're not going to be like, "Oh, told you so."
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah,
We're
well,
going to be
no,
like,
you know
"Okay,
what? I
everybody."
will. I will. I'm like, yes, I told you that earlier when I told you when I first met you. I am going to be the best broker that you meet. I am going to get you to the place where you can rent the quickest if you listen. So you know what? Yeah, I've started telling people I told you so. So they could realize, listen, we're professionals. I don't go to the doctor, ask the doctor, hey, what's wrong with me? The doctor tells me what's wrong with me. And I'm like, no, that's not what's wrong with me. And then I come back 5 months later, like, oh yeah, you know what? You were right. I do have high blood pressure.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me. So, Danny and I have been car shopping, and we went to one dealership. We met this guy. All we wanted to do was test drive. And before, like, he's just doing his whole salesman speech, and we're like, blah, whatever. He's like, what price point you want to be at? We told him. He's like, this car is not going to get you there. He's like, but I'm going to tell you. He's like, you're going to hate everything I'm about to say. He's like, but I'm going to tell you the car that you're going to end up buying, and you're going to hate it. And he told me, and the second he told me that car, I was like, hell no, fuck no, that's a terrible car. And he's like, okay, but here's where I could get you the price. And I was like, God damn it. He's like, you're going to say no. He's like, but in a week, you're going to come back and you're going to buy that car. We haven't, but it's
What,
still like, but
when's
it
the
might be right
appointment to
at
get your
this
new
point.
car?
At this point, we're like, God damn it, that price is too hard to beat, and it has so many features. And at the moment, I told Danny while we were there, and I was like, man, as like a shopper, a car, like a consumer, I hate this guy. But as a salesperson, I fucking respect the shit out of him. And then I was like, hey, how long have you been doing this? He's like, oh, 4 years, but I used to do real estate before. I was like, hell yeah.
Well, and another
But that's
reason.
the thing. It's like he's so cocky, and it pisses me off even now, right? Like he's just so smug and so cocky, but he knows he's so good at his job that he knows it. And that's what you were saying, Josh. Like at this point, fuck it. Just tell him, you know what? This is what it is.
I didn't get this far, like 10 plus odd years in, if I really didn't believe in the stuff that's coming out of my mouth. If I really didn't believe in my skill, if I really didn't believe in how I could process, or I could quickly get a person like, okay, here, I could relate with you, communicate with you, and now I could take you where you need to go.
And I said earlier, we learn things. We learn. We as brokers learn over time. So when I ask you, oh, I'm glad you found an apartment you love. Where is it? What is it? And some people are like, I'm not going to tell you. What, you think I'm going to show up? Like, I'm not coming over for
What a
dinner.
fee!
I'm not coming over for
On your
dinner.
door, and I'm be like, bitch, pay me.
Like, I'm not even just for dinner. It's like there are two reasons I'm asking you. One, because I actually actually want to know. Oh, you changed your parameters, so I know I was right. But actually, maybe I'm not getting the fee, but I might find out there's a landlord that now I'm going to get my inventory. Oh, I didn't know that building before. I know that you rented there. Now I can approach that landlord and be like, hey, I've been doing this for 16 years. I'd love to add you to my inventory. I would love, I had a client, what all those years, I can learn, I can grow, I can get better if you give me the
Yeah.
information. And that again is actually better than the fee you're going to pay, because I'm actually going to increase my business because of that. And in the long run, that's better. If I can now offer that building, or if I've learned something that I didn't know, that's helpful to me. And fine, I'm glad you found an apartment. Help me grow my business. And that's what I said. Some people give us the referrals of their friends, which is amazing. That's helping me grow my business. And I'm very grateful for that. But if you can give me information that I didn't know existed, that's also really key.
No, 100%. I love all good reviews. I feel the ones when we don't rent someone and they actually like come back and like put in a review are a little bit more satisfying. It's like, wow, that's you didn't have to do that. I appreciate it of 100%. Um, but yeah, help us, help you. And as they help us, we're gonna help ourselves, because that's how we grow our business. Like you said, every showing is a learning experience, which is why I try to stay present for everyone. It's like, yes, you're my 1 millionth like person that I've seen. You're like I've how by August, you know how many Columbia students I'm gonna have like talk to?
Oh,
Hundreds?
yeah, and then, but only them and not their roommates. That's the other thing that's frustrating. It's that when roommates, listen, if you're looking for an apartment with roommates, work together.
Mm.
Because what happens is, like, look, there are three of us on this call. There are three roommates. They each call one of us, right? And you're like, well, who are you working? Like, so now all of a sudden you got three people doing the same thing. And this is all with one company. Imagine like everyone's calling everything else. Again, there are only four apartments out there that are available that meet your needs. Like literally everyone needs to think that no matter what you're looking for on any given day in New York, there are four apartments for
That
you.
I see.
And yet
I
you've
use
got three
five. I
people
say
calling
five.
because we're going to show them the one crappy apartment, right? And that makes it five. That's the fifth one.
But now say why you show them the crappy apartment.
Yeah. Well, we show you the crappy apartment so you understand the reality. I mean, sometimes if you're a competent broker, I'm going to show you three really good apartments that meet your needs. I'm going to show you one under budget and one over budget. So now you understand the market. I mean, you've
Yeah.
all heard me talk about the buffet. I'm going to show you the buffet, and then you're going to decide whether you want the pasta, the fish, or the meat. And if we need to go back for more, what do you need to go back for? And then, oh, listen, I like the meat, but I'd like it a little more well done. Like, okay, great. Again, it comes back to the feedback. But you show them the crappy apartment and be like, this is now the whatever. This is your budget. You have said this is what you want to spend, and I'm going to show you what you can get for that. So we'll always try to find you a deal. We'll always try to find you a deal. Uh, but if the deal's not there, we can't show you. But I don't know. Why do you show a crappy apartment?
Well, I like you said, they have to understand what value is.
Yep.
Like I cannot determine value for you. So it's like, here's the list. Here's the buffet. What do you value the most? Do you value this amenity? Do you value your commute? Do you value an elevator, laundry, like whatever, convenience, whatever it is, you have to, but then it always goes back to they have to communicate and they have to give us feedback. I cannot do my job if I get nothing from you, because then we're just shooting in the dark. Then it's just try this apartment, try this apartment. And I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, you talked about it in an earlier episode that I think you called it a smorgasbord,
Yeah.
right?
The
You,
buffet.
yeah, you're trying to educate, right? Your client on the market, right? Hey, this is what you can get for this amount. This is what you can get for that amount, and this is what you can get if you are flexible with some of the amenities or things or the neighborhood or things like that. Like, which goes back to Al's pie analogy, right? So that's
Goldilocks
that's
and the
our
three
job,
bears, right? Like,
right?
this bed is too hard, this bed is too soft, but this bed is just right.
Right,
Like,
but
right,
that's
but great. But here's all this, and you figure out where in the scale of things
but
you
once you figure it out, you tell us. Tell us what it is that you've pinpoint, um,
Pinpoint.
as what is the right fit, right? The softness, whatever it is. And then we can say, okay, there are 2 other apartments that have that same fit and within your budget and within the neighborhood, and that's it. Boom, right?
and
Because
and
that's
also
it.
at
That's
the
all there
end of the
is.
day, I mean, honestly, if you're a renter, do you really want to be dragged all over the streets of New York? Do you really want to do that?
That's my
And when
job.
yeah, and when you're looking online, yeah, maybe you could see 10 apartments, but again, if you had that conversation, you don't want to live above a restaurant. You don't want to do 5 flights of stairs. You must have dog friendly. Like, we're going to narrow it down to you for you, and you're going to find the 4 apartments that we're going to show you. But you want to see more, great. I could take, but we'll show up at the building and then I'll be like, it's a 5 flights up. And I'll never do that. Well, great. Well, that's one you shouldn't see. Like, you don't, you're looking for an apartment. You don't want, your time is important. Your time is my, and I always say, when I've been told by people like, oh, listen, I don't want my time wasted. I'm like, guess what? Like, the guarantee I can give you is I'm not going to waste my own time. So I promise you, I'm not going to waste yours, because wasting your time wastes my time. And
That
that's
costs
the
me money.
guarantee I can give you. Like, I'm going to focus on your needs. And I'm going to offer you what you want, or as close as possible to what you want. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get 100%. You're going to decide, like, this apartment meets 80%, this apartment makes 90%, this is 75. You're going to decide how much of each one fits your specific needs, and what the balance of those are. And only you, the renter, can decide that. But I'm going to be like, everything's going to meet the vast majority of your stated criteria.
Yep. Yep. And speaking of value that we were just talking of, this is the reason I kept doing real estate and didn't pursue my dreams of being a lawyer. Went into first deal, Al. This is the very first deal. I was maybe like a couple weeks in, and there was a doorman building on 52nd. It's 52nd and 3rd, I believe. Very old doorman building, rinkety, no real amenities, just the fact that it has a doorman. The man walks into this apartment, and this is why I've learned to shut up when you walk in. Don't say how you feel. Let the people absorb the apartment. It was one of the crappiest studio apartments I think I've ever seen. It didn't even have a stove. It had a hot plate. It was just really bad. And the guy walked in and he was like, oh, I love this. This is perfect. And I'm in my head, I'm like, oh my God, this man is about to pay. I don't even know what it was back then. So much money, like, so much money. I'm thinking of it from New York terms. I'm like, nobody should be paying more than like $1,200 in rent. And now I'm doing real estate and I'm seeing all these prices. I'm like, oh my God, these people are suckers. I don't know what the hell they're I don't know what they're doing, but God bless them. 15 minutes, not even fully licensed yet. I made over $1,500 in 15 minutes. That moment, I said, "Oh fuck this! Law school, debt, all that is out the window. I know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my days." Uh, that is the origin story, and it's hilarious because
The origin
it
story.
it is so fitting that we can't determine value for someone. And the shittiest apartment for 15 minutes got me over $1,500. I'll take that
Yeah.
every day. I'm never going to tell
But
someone how they should live.
how quick it was to make $1,500, you have the flip side, right?
Sure.
How quickly or how long it'll take you to not make any dollars.
And that's stuff that I had to learn as well. Like
Yeah.
this industry gives you a gut check every once in a while. Sometimes I tell people all the time when they ask, they're like, "Oh, like I want to get into real estate." I'm like, "Listen, don't first off, don't leave your day job. If you want to start real estate, awesome. I'm all for it. I'll be here to support if you ever have any questions, blah blah blah. But I would advise don't leave your day job. This is not for everyone. It takes a certain mentality. People could smell desperation on you. So
Yeah,
when
I
you're
mean,
going
it
into
also
showings and like you're starving because you haven't made a deal, you can't come across that way because then you become more of a salesman because you're just trying to push people.
The shyster salesman. It's like,
mhm.
I
Yeah.
need you to rent this apartment. No, no, I don't need you to rent this apartment. As I said, the pushiness, the a good broker will be pushy when you say you want a particular apartment. But up until then, like, no, we're not gonna be pushy. We're like, again, I'm gonna be like that lady that I first met. Whatever. You like the apartment or you don't like the apartment. I mean, only you can decide whether you like the apartment. Only you can decide that. But once you do, yes, now it's a matter of it's a matter of be honest, be open. Like
It's
it's
just
not
a
like
matter.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, I have a place to sleep. I'm gonna go home.
yeah, like
I'm gonna be fine. Don't worry about me. They are the ones that are looking. They need us. Like, yes, we need each other, sure, of course. But in the end of the day, you called me. I didn't wake up and cold call you. You inquired about an apartment. That's how we got here. So let me help you. And when I started taking that attitude a little bit, it became like that was my coping mechanism. When I was like, well, I got a place to sleep. Okay, like move on to the next one. Like keep them coming.
I was talking to an international client the other day, and they're like, "Well, we're flying in. This would have been yesterday. Well, we're flying in on Tuesday, and we need an apartment." And I'm like, Okay, great." Like, I stayed up all night because they're 12 hours difference. So I'm all like helping them, and like 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, "Okay, like these are your two options. These are the only options that I can get you in on Tuesday. But by the way, like we have to deal with this today. You need to apply today so that you can have the apartment. Brokers 24/7, like we will help you any day, anytime. Landlords are going to be closed on the weekend. They're not going to be open on Saturday and
Supers
Sunday.
don't show apartments after certain times.
But I mean, but this is all being done by video. So it's like these are your options, and these are the cheapest options. But we need to do this by the end of the day to ensure that you get in. Well, then it was like, well, we don't like the price. I'm like, this was a rent stabilized 2 bedroom that I was offering them. A rent stabilized 2 bedroom. It was about $700 a month under market. I'm like, well, your other option is this price. And even if we wait until June 1, all the other options are going to be the minimum of the $700 more or even more because now we're into June. Like, so this one, it's your option. She said, well, we love the apartment, but can we get it for less? I'm like, no, like it's already a rent regulated. This is saving you 700. Well, we need to think about it. Well, then it comes into the whole guarantor thing. You're international. You're going to need something. Well, we know people that have got apartments without guarantors. Well, yes, because they've sublet. Like literally, you're a student, you don't have income, you're international. Like a landlord in New York State is not going to give you an apartment because they can't get you out if you don't pay. Like you need that qualified guarantor that landlord will accept. So, you know, I am trying to help you. And as Josh just said, I've got a roof over my head. Like you're the one that's going to land here in New York and need something to stay. And I was like, by not, well, of course, they didn't do it on Friday. They didn't do it on Saturday. They didn't do it on Sunday. Now they're like, well, we're getting on a plane and we're coming. Well, I'm like, well, what have you done? Well, one roommate got an Airbnb for 2 nights and another one sublet something for a month. I'm like, well, Well, now when do you need an apartment? And well, it's well, one wants it immediately, and I'm like, but the other one's already paid money for, so now they're fighting amongst themselves. I'm like, listen, I tried to help you, and you know what? The end of the day is, unless another rent stabilized apartment shows up in June, you're now paying, $700 to $1,000 more because listen, like I'm just trying to help you. And then again, another story is like, I got this client, I've talked to them on the phone. They seemed really great. We had the conversation about qualifying their credit, all this other stuff. Well, I called a landlord saying, hey, I have this situation. Is this somebody you would consider? And the landlord, here's relationships again. The landlord's like, this story sounds very familiar. Is it yada da da da? And I said, yeah, that's exactly who their name is. Like, well, they applied for an apartment with a different broker. Like, we turned them down. We turned them down because their credit was actually significantly less than this person told me. They this, they that, they're like everything. Like the client wasn't upfront with me about their situation and never disclosed the fact that they had already applied for stuff. The reason they were calling me is they had been denied and probably been denied by other people too. But so now the landlord's talking. It's like, I can never bring that person's application back to this landlord because the landlord's just going to reject them outright. People have to be upfront with us because you need to give us the tools to help you.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
I
you're
have
gonna
an
be staying in the
ongoing.
Airbnb paying a lot more. That trust me, that person was paying $700 a night, and
God
that's
damn.
just out of a month.
I have an ongoing like it's kind of like a joke, but at this point it's like it's serious where I tell clients I'm like treat me as if I'm living in the apartment with you. Um treat me as if I'm your best friend. Honesty, I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to try to help. To the point where I tell people like even if you're a felon, let me know. Do you remember the client
That's
that we
happened. Oh my god,
I
I know
was just thinking about
yes,
that.
the felon.
Yes. This is what I mean. Like people think I'm joking when I say I'm like, listen, if you
Wasn't he
tell
the one that
me
like cursed me out on the sidewalk on 10th Ave?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So this is long before the 2019 rent laws. Like, it was a different world where actually background checks mattered. But like we brought it, and I was like, oh wow, they've got they've got the income, they've got the assets. Josh went up and showed it was like everything was like a done deal that they were paying. There was no even negotiating a broker fee. They were a glorious client until the landlord called. And I mean, this person just didn't have they had a rap sheet.
Longer
And it
than
was
my arm, people.
it was this it was a it was this horrible thing. And I mean, and we don't need to go into that, but it was and they were like, absolutely not. So then I was like, well, I have this other landlord that I could try to get you into. We're going to show. And they got caught on a bus. I don't know, it just went, and then it went south as Rachel was trying to show them the apartment. He was cursing her out on the street corner. It's like, we are trying to help you. Why are you taking it out on us? I'm sorry. We could not get you approved because, I mean, I don't know if you disclosed that to me, I still would have tried to get you the apartment. But now that we know, we're
Yeah.
still trying to help you.
I
And
would try to help you. I just won't put you in my building. I'm like, all right.
Rachel, you just turned around and walked away, and I was like, that was the right thing to do. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, we've tried to help, and we can't. But yeah, you have to disclose stuff to us because otherwise, it's not gonna happen.
Now, Al, any stories of like a client that kind of just like shocked you? It's like you were just like thrown off by the experience, by conversation, whatever.
Well, I think that's it. I think those are some of, I've already said some of them. They're extreme examples, but they're the ones where you've told me something and then it's not true. Like, I just know
Okay.
all the things when there are many times where we run credit, a landlord runs credit, they're not necessarily going to disclose stuff. I don't think they're allowed to, but that's why they don't. But if we run credit, if landlord calls us and we see, it's like, well, wait a minute, you've had your pickup trucks, repossessed. A landlord's not going to let you in the apartment. Like, you've been evicted several times. They're not going to let you in the apartment. I will help navigate the ups and downs if you tell me in advance. But the surprising things, listen, they're always surprising. And if a deal goes really, really smoothly, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, you
Didn't
know
that just
something's
happen to
going
you
to
guys?
happen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens
Like,
all the time where like you're just like, wow. I mean, they walk in, they see the apartment, they love the apartment, they do it. Like you're like, there's something. Why is this so easy? And
too good to
then
be
it
true.
happens. Then it will happen at at the lease signing. There'll be something. It's funny. In New York, we use standard form leases. That they'll have things that don't apply. They don't have terraces. Well, I need the terrace is stricken from the lease. It's not going to be stricken from the lease. Well, I don't have a terrace. I'm like, exactly. You don't have a terrace, so it doesn't apply. These kind of things. Like, how do I get it says I can't install an air conditioner. Well, that's a liability thing. There, of course you can install. Look outside the building. There are a million. There are a million.
All right, I think we should start wrapping up. Um, any last thoughts you guys want to bring up?
No, be honest and upfront with your broker. That's how we're going to help you. I mean, Josh said one thing. I mean, like, talk to me like I'm your best friend. It's great if I'm showing a couple or friends but like I sit there and I don't sit there, but I hear you talking amongst yourselves. I hear you talking about what you like or don't like about the apartment. But if you're by yourself as a renter, I'm not hearing that. You're having a conversation in your head. That's when you really need to talk to me like I am your best friend, so that I know what's going on in your head. People walk around and they're like, oh, yeah, I like the apartment. Well, if you liked it, why aren't you renting it? Why aren't we applying? Like, tell me why you're not. Josh, you talked about doctors before. Like, the doctor comes and, he pokes you. He never says, like, what's good about you. They're like, okay, you got an iron deficiency. They're like, they tell you what's wrong. And that's how they know how to help you. So, I'm poking like, what hurts? Does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does this hurt? Like,
that blue ceiling. How do you
like
feel
what
about
what
it?
is what is wrong? Like tell me. It's more important for me to know why you won't rent something than why you do like something. Oh, well, I like the open space. I like the open floor plan. That's awesome, but you still didn't apply for it. So why? And it's not the negative. Like it is about negatives, but it's not like, well, why aren't you renting this apartment? It's like, why? Tell me why this apartment hurts. I'm poking you. Why does this apartment hurt? So that I can give you that iron supplement and make the apartment better.
The cure.
The
Give
cure.
me the
What's the
cure.
cure? What is the cure to this?
Yep,
Bottle of whiskey.
that's my cure. um, but yeah, I think this has been a really fun conversation, guys.
Always good to have you two on a call or in meetings. You guys are great. Thank you, Al. Thank you so much.
Of course.
People, Al is the Yoda of this ragtag group of Jedi here, these Jedi real estate agents. And if you are ever in need of real estate advice, please reach out to us. You guys know where to find us. Rachel, where do you find us?
We are on Instagram at Pinpointe Group. We're on LinkedIn. You can always go to our website, pinpoint.nyc, which we just updated, so check it out. Yeah, and Josh, where do they catch you?
You guys already know. You catch me in the streets. I'm outside making these
That's-
deals.
So
Al, where can they find? Well, you can find Al in many, many different places. That's going to be another whole episode. That's a different episode. The origin story of Al.
The origin story. But yeah, listen, having conversations, it's free. There's no cost, no obligation. So, call and have that conversation. And you know what? You're going to find out whether or not we're actually a good fit for you. Are we listening to you? And simply having that conversation that doesn't cost you anything. That's information. You're going to get information because we're going to tell you about things. We're going to tell you about the process. We're going to tell you about how to figure it out. And whether you choose to continue with us is up to you.
Yep,
Right,
we'll give you the realness, unfiltered.
I can't top that. So, all right.
Guys,
Thanks, everybody.
thank
Catch you
you
next
so
time.
much.
Thank you.